Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us today on another exciting episode of Seeds of Life, where we're planting small bits of wisdom that, if focused on, if energized with our awareness, watered and nourished, can grow into massive trees that change the entire way that we experience life. Today,
good.
Yeah, I'll take some of that. A lot of people need some new life experiences these days.
Yes.
And one of the ways that we know that is anger. Today, we're going to talk about anger. What is anger about? Why is it there? And oh my gosh, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've definitely noticed there is a lot of it.
I'm not feeling angry at all.
In the world right now. Nope, me neither. Oh,
no.
Feeling some of my anger and some of the world's anger, it seems like sometimes. So we have to recognize that every single one of our emotions has a survival value. Like, it's in our body for a reason. All of our feelings are chemical reactions that lead to electrical impulse communication, information processing. So every single emotion that we have, every single sensation, every single feeling actually has a purpose. And part of its purpose is to keep us alive. In a survival situation, anger is very, very useful. Now, most of the time, we don't want to feel angry. I know I definitely don't want to feel angry the majority of the time, except if somebody was coming at me trying to victimize me or trying to victimize somebody that I cared about. Then I would definitely want to use the fuel of anger. The purpose of anger is to highlight and to stop or confront injustice. Now, we can confront injustice in many ways. We can run from it. We can hide from it. We can fight it. There's lots of different ways to confront injustice. But anger is a lot of energy, and it's there to help us not be victimized and to help prevent victimization from those around us. Because if victimization happens, the feeling, the emotion of victimization is very low energy. It's hopeless. It's apathetic. There's not a lot of fuel that we can do anything with once the victimization has occurred. So, because most of us don't understand what anger is for, we go around in life just trying to not be angry. And that would be great if there were absolutely no injustice. But how much injustice is in your life? How much injustice are you aware of in the world right now? If there is injustice, if you are even subconsciously aware of injustice, you need to feel angry. It's a very beneficial thing. It's a very healthy thing. Anger is not bad. Anger is not destructive.
How many people have told you that in your life, though?
Oh,
Probably everyone has told you the exact opposite of what he just said.
Yep.
And if you've been in anger management,
manage the anger,
right? All you've came out of that with is, okay, my anger's bad. It's not a good thing. I need to learn how to effectively compartmentalize it and stuff it down. And so culturally and on a societal level, and probably even from the time you were a young child, you've learned consciously and subconsciously that anger is not good for you, that anger is bad. And then so we box anger in with all these negative things. Well, anger is okay. Anger is healthy. Anger is meant to help you. We just need to reorient our relationship with anger.
Yep. It's not anger that's bad. It's how we choose to use it that we could look at as good or bad, constructive or destructive. Now, constructive, building up, is not always good. And destructive, breaking down, is not always bad. Some things need to be broken down. Some things never need to be built in the first place.
Right.
So anger is there to help to disrupt what's going on so that improper destruction or improper construction doesn't have a negative effect. So what we want to do is we want to recognize every time we're angry, there's some type of injustice. Now, here at Organic Living Chiropractic, we utilize a technique called Network Spinal. And in Network Spinal, we have these 12 stages of healing, these 12 ways of being human. 12 ways of experiencing the world. And depending on which stage that you're aware of, which stage that you're mostly in at the moment, anger appears very different. If we're in stage 1, Anger actually looks like depression. It's just complete suffering. There's just no energy. And this just feels terrible.
Victimization.
Don't know what to do. Can't do anything. Can't move. Can't think. Barely get out of help. Now, if we can use the fuel of anger to help us move through stage 1, then we can get into stage 2. And in stage 2, anger looks like what most of us think anger is pointing the finger at all this different stuff around us, blaming all of this different stuff for the experience that we're having. It's got to be someone else's fault. It's got to be something else's fault. Got to look around because I'm good and they're bad, or they're good and I'm bad. It can be either way, but it's a very polarized, it's a very one-directional expression of the experience of anger. Now, if we can be with that, and one of the secret weapons for stage 2 to be with this is actually humor. To look at how we're creating these artificial divisions, these artificial singular one ways of looking, and we just won't look outside of this one way, and it just has to be this way. If we can start to laugh at how silly that really is, with all of the different ways to experience life, we're choosing this one. Well, really? I mean, come on now. And with the recognition that everybody is walking around in their own reality, when they're not walking around in their own truth, but they are walking around in their own reality. So what's got you may be seen as beneficial to somebody else. What you think is beneficial may be considered damaging to someone else. So just to have this one singular way of looking at things, this black and white, it's either really good or it's really bad. It's kind of hilarious.
You know what it makes me think of? Is working in restaurants. I worked at a brewery for a long time. At a brewery, we made beer. Beer comes from barley and wheat, which is gluten, right? And I can't tell you how many people would come in and say, "Oh, I'm gluten-free," and freak out about their food, and then order a beer. Yep. And I would just have to laugh at that. There's the perfect thing. The gluten is the enemy.
Yeah, it's
the gluten
bad guy.
is the bad guy, but my beer is okay.
Yes.
What? Okay, that's all right. You be gluten-free. The air that you're breathing right now in this brewery has gluten in it, but all right, you be gluten-free. That's cool.
So it's really this false dichotomy that we set up within ourselves in order to project the anger into a direction. Now, if we can use that, and if it's the right direction, that can be really beneficial, but most of the time it's not. I know for me personally, most of the time whenever I get angry, the real injustice is not out there. The real injustice is the expectations that I've placed on life, that I've placed on other people. What do you mean they don't feel a certain way about me? Oh, how dare they have feelings of their own? Oh my God.
Everything's supposed to be the way that I want it to be and nowhere else.
How come they're not driving like I think they should be driving? That's the real injustice, is the labels and the way that we box life in. We place our shoulds on life. We place our shoulds on other people. We place our shoulds on ourselves. Now, when we can recognize that, when we can claim it, and again, a good laugh really helps that out, then we can move into stage 3. Stage 3 is the stage in which we can really use the anger in a productive way. When we can recognize, oh my gosh, I am the one that's responsible for my thoughts, my feelings, and my experiences. I'm the one that's responsible for my reality.
Whoa.
Yeah, when we can take that punch to the gut, then we can move on into stage 4. And stage 4 is really where we where rubber meets the road. That's when we draw the line in the sand and say, enough of this. I am no longer going to put up with something that doesn't serve me. And if that something that doesn't serve me is something that I'm creating, that I'm feeding into, awesome. That means I got full control to change it.
You have power.
Right. If we are in a bad situation, okay, we also have the power to change and get out of it. So we may not be able to control exactly what's going on. We may not be the source of it, but we can control how we experience it. And sometimes that's getting out of Dodge.
Choosing to see it in a different way too.
Right.
Choosing to take the power of your perspective into your hands.
Absolutely. Now, last thing about anger. is recognize anger is a collective experience. It is not just an individual experience. We can go somewhere and just drive by a protest and you'd be surprised at how angry you can get, not even knowing what that protest is there for. If there's a lot of anger going on in the environment around you, it's easy to pick that up. Our body, actually, our heart's electromagnetic field extends up to 20 feet outside of our body. And what that electromagnetic field is doing is it's measuring the fluctuations in the environment around us so that it informs us. If someone comes within, hopefully a little bit more than 20 feet of us, and they're experiencing hatred and anger, like, wouldn't you think it would be good biologically to be able to be aware of that before they express that with their hands on your body?
Mm-hmm.
Or on the opposite side.
It's like emotional psychic capabilities.
Yes. And it's all electromagnetic fluctuations. And on the other side, if you came within 20 feet of somebody who was experiencing unconditional love, like, would it be biologically beneficial to be able to pick up on that so that you could team up with that person? That'd be a really good person to have in your tribe.
Mm-hmm.
They will help increase your survival value. So just remember, some of the anger that you may be experiencing may not be yours. You don't have to claim it. You don't have to figure out why the anger is there. The first thing we have to do is, number one, become aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is just to acknowledge, yep, this right here, what I'm experiencing, yeah, this feels a little bit like anger. But how do you experience anger? Is anger in your chest? Is it somewhere in the space around you? Is it in your throat? Is it in your gut? Is it big? Is it small? Is it hot? Is it cold? Like, what do you experience whenever you say, I'm angry, I feel angry? What exactly is that feeling? Can you really acknowledge what you're actually experiencing without just jumping into the story? Stories can very much keep things exactly where they are.
And then we can get stuck in that cycle of constantly pointing the finger and just get ourselves stuck in that polarized stage 2 thought mindset. Because we're like, oh, I'm angry because of this. And we keep diving into the story, where if you take the story away and focus on your body and your experience and say, oh, my blood is boiling, my ears are hot, I'm angry. I'm angry. There's nothing wrong with that. When we put the story on it is where we start to create the judgments and where that negative connotation to the emotion comes in again.
Yeah. So when we can feel it, we can use the information that the body's processing. And then we'll be able to have a proper response. But if we don't feel it, if we just jump into thinking about it or doing something about it without really feeling it, we haven't gotten enough information fully processed to really be able to be effective. And if we can't be effective with anger, we're going to spend a lot of energy. We're going to go nowhere. The injustice will remain. And that's where the hopelessness, depression, and apathy sets in. So, thank you guys so much for joining us. We really love seeing you. We hope that you will join us next week whenever we will have some different topic. We haven't decided yet. If you are interested in any particular topics, please do not hesitate to comment. You can send us a message on Facebook. You can email us at organiclivingchiropractic@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Subscribe to our YouTube page. Check us out on Facebook. And we will see you somewhere in the field.
Bye.